C2 is a digital solutions company specializing in digital services, cloud solutions, and managed services. We were founded in 1993, and we're a Vermont-owned and operated business. We're proud to be working with over 500 clients currently, including yourselves. We provide strategic consulting on digital transformation while designing, delivering, and managing solutions across hybrid and cloud infrastructures, applications, and data management to help our clients leverage technology in today's competitive environment. We pride ourselves on our best-of-class technology partnerships, and I'd like to thank our strategic vendor partner, Dell Technologies, without whom we couldn't run events like this one tonight. I hope you enjoy the event, and at this point, I'd like to introduce John Powell from Dell, who's going to provide us with some information on PowerStore. John?
Thanks, Joe. Good afternoon, everyone. John Powell. I am an advisory SC team lead. I tend to wear a lot of hats here at Dell Technologies. I've been living and breathing PowerStore for pretty much most of last year. So wanted to take the next 15, 20 minutes, depending upon questions and the like that we might get into. So without further ado, I'll just kind of jump right in. If you already are familiar with PowerStore, that's awesome. If not, then hopefully, the next couple of minutes will give you at least a little bit of a taste of what it's about. I mean, it is the latest primary storage product in our vast portfolio. Certainly, it's a ground-up design from a lot of perspectives, but if you're also familiar with some of the other products that we have in the portfolio, be it legacy Dell or even legacy EMC products, maybe both, you're going to see some similarities, right? There's definitely been some code sharing. There's been a lot of engineering swapping going on. People on the old engineering teams off of Compellent, for example, SC Series, are now a part of the PowerStore team. There's about 1,000 engineers working on this thing. So, this is definitely a huge and important focus for us going forward this year and beyond. So with that said, PowerStore is built on 3 pillars, right? And you see them here: data centricity, intelligence, and adaptability. I assume everybody can see my screen. Just double check real quick. Awesome. I see Joe shaking his head, so I guess we're good.
You're good.
If it wasn't for you wearing a hat, Joe, I don't know if I would have seen that. So thank you. But yeah, we're going to kind of dive in each one of these over the next, like I said, 15, 20 minutes. So data centricity, it's really about any workload, right? It's workload flexibility. It doesn't matter what you're running. I mean, PowerStore is certainly a SAN-based appliance, but it's got some really unique features to it that you're not going to see anywhere else in the industry, which I'll talk about. But any workload, right? If it's block-based, if it's file-based, if it's vVol-based, if it's Epic, if it's Metatech, if it's SQL, if it's Exchange, if it's Splunk, something else. I mean, you name it, right? I mean, it's a SAN, right? It is a storage area network storage array device. So with that said, any workloads that you might already have running on in some kind of shared storage environment certainly can work here. But this, again, is definitely a unified block, file, and vVol architecture. One big pool of storage, so there's no lines in the sand that anybody would have to draw to, set up, certain capacities for one over the other. It's one big pool of storage. You want vVol, how much? You want file, how much? You want block, how much? Create as many of each as you like, and you're off to the races. With all of our products, right, and you certainly would see this with PowerMax, you certainly would see this, in the hyperconverged space with VxRail. You certainly saw this with Extreme IO, if you're familiar with that product. We are absolutely putting a lot into what we call N-way scale architecture. So scale up and scale out. You buy a single appliance, right? If you need more capacity, I can simply add more capacity to that appliance. Not a problem. If I need more performance, I want to do some workload segregation. I don't want this workload or this application to run on the same storage array as some other applications. Then I can scale out by adding another appliance to a cluster. So, and I can do those independently, The models don't need to be different. The types of drives don't need to be different. They can be, for the most part, completely separate kind of instances and configurations, and they're going to all operate as one. You're going to manage them all from the same GUI, same pane of glass. So again, any workload, anytime, it's all NVMe end-to-end inside the box. Active, high availability architecture. We don't have anything in the portfolio that's not, so we certainly weren't about to start with something that's not that. PowerStore certainly has those capabilities, and again, it's all NVMe inside the box, so that just also lends itself to any workload at any time, because that just unlocks, we're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of IOPS in performance capability. It is designed for 99.999% availability because of all the things we've done with the HA capability, with the active architecture, with the smarts, for lack of a better phrase, the brains, the artificial intelligence, machine learning that are built inside the box, right? That certainly is going to help, manage. It's going to help you manage the box. It's going to, mitigate risk. It's going to mitigate, scenarios where a controller may, hiccup or go down, or a drive may have a failure. So again, it's pretty hands off. It kind of does its own babysitting, if you will. There really isn't much you need to do to babysit the array. Because it is NVMe, I also have Flash or SCM. Flash being your typical NAND flash SSDs that have been around for a while. The only difference here is we're running NVMe protocol into them, dual ported versus, what we did in the past with, a typical SAS protocol, which at the end of the day is a bottleneck. So again, that's why we're also getting that such great performance, because of that NVMe protocol, as I mentioned already. For those that might need some, uber fast, uber low latency kind of applications, I certainly have the ability to do NVMe SCM as well. And if you're not familiar with the differences in that technology, if I had to tell you guys in 30 seconds or less, you have DRAM, what you're running your servers and your notebooks, right? SCM is a stone's throw from DRAM in terms of performance. So again, from a latency perspective, NVMe certainly ups the game. SCM even ups the game more. The other thing about workloads and the data centricity, which is a hallmark of what we do, right? It is the data reduction, and we guarantee with no, assessment required. Very few strings attached, and those strings attached are basically things like, hey, pre-compressed data doesn't compress anymore. Pre-encrypted data doesn't compress or dedupe very well, right? So barring some scenarios like that, audio, video, things that, again, just aren't amenable to dedupe and compression for obvious reasons, barring factoring those kind of data workloads and data types out, we guarantee 4-to-1 all day long. No assessment required. No, competitors require an assessment, and if you change your, configuration later on, or you do something different, you add a workload, you avoid whatever guarantee they may have offered you. We offer 4-to-1 out of the gate, no questions asked. Very intelligent, always on. You can't turn it off. There's no performance impact because we offload that to a specific chipset inside of the PowerStore array controllers, and it just works. And again, we're guaranteeing that. Frankly, in the 1,000, 1,200 units we are shipping since May, and that number just keeps growing every week, obviously. So 1,100, just shy of 1,200 last week. I couldn't even tell you what it's going to be like this week. I'm sure it'll be 13, maybe even approaching 1,400. We're actually seeing better than 4-to-1. So that data reduction guarantee is a pretty real guarantee. And again, if you're familiar with some of the products in the portfolio already, the clustered, federated, N-way scale, that comes from, again, pieces, parts of Extreme IO, pieces, parts of SC or a Compellent. The offload we do for the data reduction, that's all a page we've taken, frankly, out of the PowerMax playbook. The artificial intelligence and machine learning, which I'll talk about, a lot of it's based on, the groundbreaking things that PowerMax and all its predecessors have been doing for, several dozen years. The data reduction guarantee, this number is an extreme IO-like number. Frankly, this is the highest number, barring extreme IO, that we have in the portfolio. So again, we took the best of all our products that we currently have in the portfolio, and we're rolling those features and capabilities and the reasons why people bought them in a PowerStore. So we're really giving you the absolute best of both worlds for any workload with phenomenal performance, without any compromise. So far, so good, guys. Any questions or comments so far? Awesome. I'll just keep going. Intelligence. Again, a lot of intelligence in the platform today, a whole lot more to come, right? This is, this product's been out for, going on 9 months now, 8, 9 months. So, obviously as this product, matures, we're going to add more and more intelligence to it. But again, it's got quite a bit out of the gate. It is a programmable infrastructure right out of the gate as well. So I have hooks in this CSI for Kubernetes and Ansible and all the other VMware ecosystem products, be it VRO, VRA, Cloud Director. So you absolutely, can tweak and tailor this platform and this product today. You don't necessarily need to wait for us to do something that we're going to do maybe 2 or 3 revs from now, right? You can do it today if you like. But even if you don't, the GUI in and of itself is super easy. There's nothing that's a few mouse clicks away. You can deploy new resources in seconds. Again, it's a very, very hands-off, automated kind of management infrastructure that really takes care of itself. And again, eliminate those manual steps, not necessarily to save time, because, other than the time it would take you to click this and click that or enter this on the command line, type this, right? That's the time you're saving. It really is not about saving time in as much as it's about mitigating and reducing risk, right? Reducing the intervention of human error, for instance, right? Which we all know happens from time to time, no matter how cautious and careful we all are. Again, a lot of autonomy here based on that intelligence, based on that infrastructure, right? So I can automatically discover new appliances when I add them to the cluster, drives when I add drives into an existing appliance in the cluster. Moving workloads around, that's another really great capability where it's a couple of mouse clicks to move a workload from one appliance in a cluster to another. We make recommendations based on that. We also make recommendations when I create new volumes, new workloads. Hey, you know what? Where might it go in the cluster best? Where would it fit best based on capacity and other metrics? We're going to be doing a lot with performance too coming here in the next couple of reps. So again, stay tuned. That autonomous ability for this appliance, for this cluster, for this management of this infrastructure, this platform is just going to keep getting better. But again, a lot of capability in our version today. And then, for those of you who might already be familiar with some of our products, Cloud IQ, it's our proactive health analytics platform. It's, something that we have back at the ranch, if you will, based on Dial Home, has its own intelligence, machine learning algorithms and AI analytics going on. So, it's not only a great web portal that you can hit off a web browser, use your phone wherever in the world to really get some good idea of what's going on with your array from a anomaly perspective, a health scoring perspective, as well as a predictive perspective. Hey, if you keep on the same trajectory of, data growth, you're going to run out of space in 2 weeks, right? For example. There's a lot more that Cloud IQ will do on top of all that, just basic dial home data. If you have paths that are no longer used, it's going to tell you that. If you have, reclaimable storage because there's a volume out there that doesn't have any more paths to it, right? It's going to tell you that. The anomaly detection, maybe you do 5,000 IOPS every night during your normal backup window. And then for the last 3 nights, you're doing 25,000 IOPS. It's going to flag all those kind of things. It's going to tell you. It's going to keep you informed. It's going to make recommendations. So again, nothing like Cloud IQ, out there. It runs on all our platforms and for all our storage products. PowerStore, certainly is part of that ecosystem that they've built over the last couple of years. Last but not least, talking about the pillars here, in terms of adaptability, architecture-wise, there's nothing as flexible out there as PowerStore. There's 2 different models. There's a T model. Think of that as traditional. So your traditional 3-tier layer cake kind of architecture, server network storage, where PowerStore is a SAN, right? It's a device, it's a shared storage device that you hook up through some network fabric, SAN or IP based, and you share out your data, whether it's file based, block based, vVol, doesn't matter, right? All of PowerStore is built on a container-based design. There's a lot of good benefits to that for you guys, for us. I won't get into what they all are, but just at the end of the day, this is definitely the wave of the future that everybody's moving towards. Dell EMC, Dell Technologies notwithstanding, right? This is frankly the movement for all of our products. You're going to see some hardware agnostic software containers capabilities that you're going to see roll out. We've already seen a few of them, frankly, depending upon what products you may be familiar with. You've already seen a few of those roll here in the last couple of months. You're going to see a lot more, and they're going to be on more platforms. There's a new capability for cloud integration on PowerMax. That's coming to PowerStore. The software-defined NAS that is on PowerStore today, that's going to go to PowerMax. So again, there's going to be a lot of this sharing of hardware agnostic software-defined capabilities. So a lot more to come along those lines. But again, a lot of that has to do with that container-based architecture. That's just one of many benefits I could spend an hour to talk about, and we're not certainly going to do that here. The other thing that's really, really cool about PowerStore, and I'll direct yourself to the graphic up here on the upper right of your screen. We call it Apps On. So that PowerStore T, like I said, it is your typical SAN. I put the PowerStore OS on the hardware, and I share out my storage. Apps On puts ESX on top of the bare metal, and I run that PowerStore OS in a VM. I basically reserve 50% of the resources to run that PowerStore OS. So for all the data services, right, your replication, your data reduction, the data path, the snapshots, cloning, all the table stakes features you would expect in an enterprise class array. The other thing, but what about the other 50% of the resources? Because like I said, I only reserve 50% for this OS, this container-based OS. The other 50% allows you to run your VMs on there, your production VMs that it might be running in an HCI cluster today, that might be running on an ESX I server in some ESX farm today. Because it's all based on VMware, all the VMware system, vSphere ecosystem products work. So it's all based in control from vCenter, vSphere, like I said, VRO, VRA, VCF, VMware Cloud Foundation, right? vMotion, storage vMotion, all these things work. And it's just a very seamless integration into that VMware environment. A lot of use cases for this, what we call the PowerStore X, guys, which again is that Apps On capability. Edge, back of the core for workload diversity, because data intensive apps that need a lot of data, you probably would put on a PowerStore. Those compute intensive general purpose apps, you probably put in an HCI. Not that I can't intermingle and mix and match and have one running somewhere. It really doesn't matter. It's just what's the sweet spot. There's some other really good use cases for the X out there, some other really good use cases for the T. So if you want more information based on the limited time we have here today, certainly want to make sure you let us know you need some follow-up, and we'll be more than happy to follow up with you. Deployment-wise, all 2U. Every model's 2U, all the same. The only difference is, frankly, the number of cores and the amount of memory, and you'll see that in what I call the family portrait slide here in a second. So again, very seamless deployment, very flexible deployment. Start with one, grow from there, add capacity, add more nodes, add some VMware ecosystem plugins later on, start working with Ansible later on, you name it, right? There's not a more flexible architecture, frankly, in our entire portfolio that really complements everything else. And again, all 2U, so real small form factor. And oh, by the way, a 20-minute setup. If anybody's familiar with EqualLogic, and I'm a legacy EqualLogic guy, that's how I came to Dell. This setup is as easy as EqualLogic. And frankly, even the GUI reminds me of EqualLogic. So, in terms of, again, simplicity, there's nothing out there like it. Consumption-wise, we have a program called Anytime Upgrade. It's our free every X, program that some of the competitors offer. But you know what? We don't have the T's and C's and strings attached. There's a reason why we call it Anytime Upgrade. You can basically upgrade anytime. You can cash in that what I call the token for your, another model higher, a new version of the model I have, assuming it's available. Even adding, new appliances to the cluster. I can even use the token for that, which again, our competitors don't do for one reason or another. again, very flexible consumption models, financing as a service, and all of this stuff, including that data reduction guarantee. We probably don't talk about it as much as we should. Our future-proof program is second to none. It definitely covers a lot of that data reduction 4-to-1 that I talked about earlier, and then whatever the ratios are for all our other storage products. But it goes well beyond that, right? Customer satisfaction, hardware investment protection, you name it. There's a lot of facets to that as well. And again, there just isn't anything that's flexible or adaptable out there to help you guys not get locked in, because change is the new norm. And just because what you did today is good for you doesn't mean it's going to be good for you tomorrow. But with the flexibility and adaptability and the centricity PowerStore has, from a, again, flexible deployment standpoint, flexible workload standpoint, you're never going to get locked in. Last slide here, guys, is the family. I already kind of talked about this, right? There's 5 models. I won't bother reading this slide. But, look at the simplicity, right? A lot of other competitors, even some of our other products, right? It's not only just based on rows, it's based on columns, because there's only certain things you can do based on a certain model. As I mentioned, besides cores and CPU and memory, everything else in this box is the same. The max number of drives you can put in the cluster for any given appliance is the same. The types of drives you can put in every appliance is the same. The capacities of those drives are the same. The I/O modules that you can, put in to this architecture is the same, regardless of the model. The only difference is, again, CPU cores and memory. And it's always in a 2U form factor. So again, talk about the edge, especially with that apps on X capability. It doesn't get any smaller, simpler, more elegant than this. Right? We've talked about VxRail, even Robo at the edge. Even that is not as simple or as elegant as this. So again, a lot of great use cases for the T or the X. If you need more information, be more than happy to get it to you as you see fit.